In the hospital, actually, I said I was gonna quit. Like, I was done racing. I almost died, so like I'm giving it up. Like, I'm done. I'm gonna go work at Honda of Houston, and that's what I did for about 6 months, I'd say. And I just worked at the shop, let my face heal, and was actually released to ride 6 months later. And I was just gonna go out and ride for fun. And the second I rode, that all changed. So I started riding when I was 3 years old. Didn't really ride all that much because my dad was still racing pro around this area and trying to make money racing as well as working. And so when I got a little bit younger, he slowly started to get me into riding a little bit more. And by the time I was 8, I actually did my first race. And that was at a track actually not far from the Houston area off Mills Road. And I just remember that first race, I still remember it because it was just one of those stories you can't forget. I lined up on the line, and I was actually on a 65 for my first race. I didn't even race on 50s. And right when the gate dropped, I don't know if it was either nerves or just me freaking out from being in my first race, but I dumped the clutch way too hard and looped out, which is when your bike just takes off from you. Right off the starting gate, about 5 foot out, and thought this is the best way to start a first race. I just looped out about 5 foot out of the gate, but yeah, just from there, I just slowly started getting better, figured out how to work the clutch on a 65. Then I would move up to 85, still sticking around Houston. Still kind of a mid-pack rider. I'd be a little bit more towards the back, and slowly on 85s, about my last year before I moved up to a big bike, which is a 250, I started to do a lot better, and that's when I realized that I kind of had potential to make this my career. And right on the last year at 85s, I made it to my first ever Loretta Lynn's, which is the biggest amateur national in America. I made it there and did pretty well. I got 11th, and then the next year I did even better. I got 5th, and then the next year I went out and won at Loretta Lynn's. And right then was pretty much the time when I decided, okay, this is what I can do. If I won at Loretta Lynn's, I'm the best out of the country in this class. And pretty much from there, I just started picking away at it, turned pro a couple years later, and just been growing and racing pro ever since. Had a couple injuries, but every year's been going a little bit better and a little bit better, and I'm just super blessed to be able to do this. Going through amateurs, I was always really solid, climbing up the ranks, never really got hurt, but I had a couple small injuries, but nothing really too bad. I broke a wrist like my second year on 250s, which wasn't too bad. They just put it back into place, and it was good to go. And so yeah, through my amateur career, I was always pretty injury-free, and it just really sucked that when I turned pro, it just seemed to be injury after injury after injury the first 3 years or so. And getting ready for Supercross, there was this little local race at this track in San Antonio, Texas, and it was a night race, so I couldn't really see that well, and I just went off this jump wrong and took my foot off the peg, and I Superman through the air, landed on my face, and somehow I didn't get knocked out, but my face immediately swole up and my back was hurt. They had to take me to the ambulance. My face was swole up. I couldn't even really see on the way to the hospital. They had to transfer me to hospitals because it ended up being really bad. And what ended up happening is I fractured my skull in like 4 different spots, 2 in my forehead, my eye socket, like my nose, and they had to do surgery a couple days after, split me open from ear to ear, and now I actually have a plate right in my forehead right here. So that was definitely really, really scary, and kind of gives me the chills when I look back on it, because I was pretty close to like death right there in that scenario. My first couple years pro were crazy. I mean, my first year pro was definitely the craziest, and the next years seemed to come a little bit easier, and then this year is a little bit easier. So each year it's getting better because I'm figuring out how to do it and figuring out my expenses that I need and everything that I need covered. And just the first year was really hectic. I mean, am I even gonna make enough money for next weekend? Like, am I even gonna make enough money to make it to the next race? Like, I'm lining up next to the baddest dudes and they're making a comfortable living, and I'm just struggling, like trying to find money from any different person. All my different friends, my family is pitching in, like so many different friends that like don't even have that much money or like helping me out each weekend to get to each race, like just literally struggling to get to each race. And you know, I was doing it there for a while where I would literally call someone up like on the Friday, like, or Thursday before I would leave and be like, hey, like I thought I would have enough money for this weekend, but I don't. Can you like pitch me some money so I can just pin it up to this race real quick and hopefully make enough money to get to the next weekend? Now that I'm doing better and I'm fortunate enough to have people help me to really relieve that stress, has been really a blessing. This past year has been way great, and I really think that's why I'm doing a little bit better now, is because I don't really have to stress about trying to call all these different people up and ask for money. I have all these different people now that are already lined up to help me get to each race, and it's just really been awesome this past year to be able to do that. I don't really have a response to when I'm going to give up racing and get a normal job. I mean, I'm doing my dream job and chasing the dream. So I mean, if I keep paying the bills and I'm doing what I love, I mean, I don't know. When people ask me that question, I kind of just, it's not really disrespectful, but I don't like to hear it, and I don't really have an answer for it either, because I love what I do. I don't want to give it up.